Welcome to another edition of Maverick University. I'm your host, David Hallberg. Joining me today is one of our church members, Brother Caleb Rardin. Brother Caleb Rardin is one of our Sunday school teachers, a layman at Northwest Bible Baptist Church, and is a graduate of Providence Baptist College, and we're happy to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So we want to talk a little bit about something that I think can really help a lot of young teenagers. Maybe they're about to graduate high school, and the topic is, I guess, why go to Bible college?
Okay.
Why go to Bible college?
Yeah.
And I picked you for this topic and asked you to speak on this topic for this reason. You're a graduate of Bible college, yet you're not a pastor. You're not an assistant pastor, missionary, evangelist. You're not a full-time, Christian worker in ministry.
Right.
Yet you are a graduate of Bible college. And the temptation might be for some to think out there like, oh, what a waste of time. The guy went to Bible college for 4 years and he didn't even end up in ministry. So obviously I don't agree with that thought.
Right.
You don't agree with that thought.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. But first, could you give us some background as to the home you were raised in, the ministry you were raised in, and kind of how you were steered toward Bible college in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in a ministry home, full-time Christian service. My dad was an assistant pastor. I grew up at Faith Baptist Church in Bourbonnais under Pastor Terry Angel. And I think most kids that are in a ministry home, it feels like there's one or the other. They're either very directed towards being in the ministry at an early age, or unfortunately they have no desire to be in the ministry. And I think as a credit to my pastor growing up and my parents too, that was never the case. I never had feelings against being in the ministry or anything like that. I had a desire to serve in ministry. I loved working in the ministry at my church growing up, working on the bus route especially. I was able to run a bus route as an older teenager and loved being in the ministry and loved being in a ministry home, but it was never called to preach. Went to camps and conferences growing up and was never called to preach. I wasn't probably the most spiritual guy in my youth group, but I still was, very much wanted to serve the Lord, wanted to be a good Christian, but never had a desire to preach or felt a call to be a preacher.
Sure.
That was me growing up in a ministry home.
I like what you said, and I think it is true. I didn't grow up in a ministry home where my dad was in full-time Christian work. He was just a layman in our church, the same church, in fact. We've known each other for years and years, and I've known your dad for years, and he's very influential in my life. But I've seen kids that grew up in a pastor's home, and either they love ministry, they love God, or it can be the complete opposite, where they hate ministry. They're almost bitter at God for the home they grew up in.
Right.
And I'm glad that although you didn't feel called to ministry, you weren't, completely antagonistic against the idea as well. And it's possible for someone to not be called to preach and yet be yielded and open to whatever God has for them to do. It doesn't have to be either of two extremes. You can, be uncalled to full-time ministry and yet love to serve God.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
What was it as you got toward your high school years? What was your outlook? What was your direction?
Yeah.
Did you have a desire to go to Bible college? Was that something that from the outset you knew you were going to do, even though you weren't called to preach? Where were you at?
So I would say no. Going to Bible college it was on my radar, but it wasn't definitely in my plan personally. As I got to be an older teenager, I was really interested in writing and journalism and that kind of thing, and I thought I was pretty good at it. But I started really focusing on that, and I got a job as a teenager working in that field, and it just gave me such a desire to get into that field, and I just really enjoyed it. And so my dad had always preached to me about having direction. He'd never called me into the ministry. My pastor never called me into the ministry. They believed that was something that God would do if he wanted me to be, but they always wanted me to have a direction, right, as a young man. And so I had a direction that I was aimed in that was in that field. And I had a desire to go to a secular college. I had a couple that I had applied for and even gotten accepted to. I was doing writing these big papers and trying to get into these big universities. We're really excited about it and all that. Well, going into my senior year, attending camp, I started to think a lot about what my pastor and my dad had given so many other men, young men going, leaving their home and growing up, given them the advice of going to a year of Bible college. Mm-hmm. And I started to think about that. And all my life growing up, whenever I had a decision that I needed to make, I always defaulted to my pastor and my parents. And I thought to myself, as a teenager, that was good enough for me, and I had a pretty happy life, and God had taken care of me and given me some really cool opportunities, even as a teenager. So I thought to myself, you know what, if I'm going to do that as a teenager, what would be the harm in doing that one last time? Mm-hmm. Almost is what I thought. Like, I'm gonna just defer to what my pastor thinks and what my parents think, and I'm going to give it a shot. So I didn't come to Bible college with this, my pastor made me do it. I really didn't feel that way, or my parents made me do it, and it wasn't that. It was more out of respect and really kind of trying to honor them and what I think that they would have wanted for me. So I said, you know what, I'll go for a year. I'll go for a year of Bible college, and then after that I'll go and I'll join, go to this secular university and follow my plan or, my path. And I thought, well, when I come to Bible college, there's a few things that I can learn while I'm here, right? So even coming in my first year, the classes I picked were strategically helping me with writing and in English. I was like selecting English classes, which no one does, right? But I was looking, I still had a plan, I still had a direction. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to default to my pastor and my parents and give God 1 year.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of kids, there's no such thing as having no direction. You're always pointed somewhere.
Right.
And you talked about deferring to your pastor about this decision. Well, you will always defer to someone. You will always submit yourself to someone's advice. You can't just make up your own mind, because you're not making up your own mind.
Right.
You're being influenced by someone.
Oh, 100%.
And so once again, like you said, for the last time, I'm going to submit myself to my pastor and ask his advice on something. It's so true. It's something that every young person needs to do. Just because you're graduating high school doesn't mean you're your own man and now you make your own decisions. Let's get honest. Up until you graduate high school, your parents have told you when to brush your teeth, when to go to bed, what you're going to wear, where you're going to be, and
you're going to
when
this
you're going to be there. Exactly.
You be home at this time.
So
all these things.
You turn 18 and magically that goes away? No, absolutely not. You're still submitting yourself. So you end up at Bible college for 1 year. All right. So was Bible college everything you expected it to be? Were there some things that surprised you that I didn't expect this? Yeah,
I would say I was a little spiritually immature, or still probably, immature in general, right, when I came. But I was really nervous about Bible college. For one, I thought, is it going to just be a big camp? Is it going to feel like camp or a youth conference, right?
All the time, long for a semester.
All that, how youth conference and camp, there's always activities and things going on. I thought, is that what it's going to be? Because I don't know if I could handle that. That's just a lot going on, right? So I had that thought in my mind. And then my other big fear was, well, Bible college is, it's a boot camp for men that want to become full-time Christian servants, right? How am I going to fit in, right? Am I going to be kind of looked down on, for one? Am I going to be looked down on because I'm not called to preach, Am I going to fit in with anybody, right? What is that going to be like? And I was really nervous about that. And I will say, coming to Providence, that wasn't the feelings I got when I came here at all, right? The staff and faculty welcomed me. I was able to kind of talk about some of my plans with members of the faculty, and they didn't squelch them or anything like that. They were very interested in what my plans were, and they gave me some advice, helpful advice that I still look back on. Guys that older men in Bible college, some of them were married men. some of the guys my age that were called into ministry, who maybe they were called when they were 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
I got to be fast friends with them. And they never looked down on me because, I wasn't really maybe as sure with my direction as they were. We were all working in the ministry together, whether it was on a bus route or out soul winning or singing in a tour group or whatever it was. We just had fun. And we just loved serving the Lord together and just laughing and enjoying Bible college. Some of the greatest memories of my life were in Bible college, and just some of the funniest stories, some of the greatest memories that I've ever had, and some of the closest friends I've made. The closest friends in my life I made at Bible college, the guys that I still correspond with. Many of them are pastors, missionaries, assistant pastors, and we still talk,
Yeah.
So those fears that I had coming in, looking back on, it's kind of silly, but it was a genuine fear that I had. It was something I was surprised by.
It wasn't a caste system where, you have your elite,
Right.
future preachers of America one day.
Seminary.
Yeah. And then here's the lowly peons who just simply pay the school bill to,
Right. The
fund
education major guys. Yeah.
And, it's all level, it was all level playing ground. And I like
Yeah.
what you said. You were able to share, some of your aspirations, your dreams that weren't necessarily full-time ministry. And it wasn't like the faculty, like, how dare you
Right.
consider doing anything other than being a preacher.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, not at all. In fact, what I feel like they did is we found ways to take some of the things that I enjoyed and some of the desires I had, the interest I had, and adapt them to, hey, how could you serve God with that, right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, all of the interests I had was how could I serve me with that, and maybe my ego, or how could I serve?
It's just natural to be that way.
Yeah, yeah, and you have, and I think it was a good thing to have some direction and have a plan and have desires to do something, right, as a young man. I think that was good. I felt like I had more planned out, more desires and aspirations than some of the, other guys my age. But having that understanding that those desires should be directed toward how can I serve the Lord? Those desires need to be directed at how can I serve in my church? How can I help the next generation? Whatever that may be. And I think that was some of the things that the faculty helped direct me on and kind of bolster that desire for me.
So Bible college wasn't everything you expected to be. It was, better than you thought it would be.
Yeah, in many
and
ways.
What was it then that made you go from I'm here for a year to I'm here for 4 years and eventually becoming a Bible college graduate?
Right. Well, I would love to say it's because I, was so spiritual that I decided, I'm going to stay for 4 years within, the first week of me being here. That's just not the case. So going into really my second month here, my parents called me up and grew up in Illinois, just a couple hours from here, not even a couple hours from here. And it really, one of the main reasons I chose this Bible college, one of the reasons I chose the Bible college is what my pastor was here, and I loved him, and it was close to home, right? And I was only going to be here for a year, so why move all the way across the country, right? So I decided to do that, and my parents called me up 2 months in and said, hey, we're moving to Texas. We're moving to the South. Ooh. And I was like, I was shocked, right? I am a city boy. I'm a northern guy. I love Chicago. This feels like home to me. So I was shocked by that. And it was not on the table when I came to Bible college. It really wasn't. Mm. And so that was a shocking thing for me. And I honestly got a little depressed about it, right? I got a little bitter. I wouldn't say bitter at anybody, but I got a little bitter about it. Like, this is messing with my plans a little bit. I was planning to come back home and do some community college, right, to get some cheap credit, all this kind of thing. I had this whole plan, and now it was kind of crumbling. And I went out to visit my parents at Christmas in this new location and liked the people there and the church there and everything there. It was nothing negative about them, but it just didn't feel like home. Right.
Sure, yeah.
I wanted, my room. My room was gone. All of my stuff I owned. Everything of mine was in boxes at the college, right, in the storage, right? So I had all of my stuff that I owned, all my baseball cards, all that silly stuff, And I decided after that first semester and going into my second semester, I thought, well, you know what? I'm not going to go home right? I'm not going to go back to this new area, so I'm going to stick around. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a really good job, and I'm going to try to see if I can keep this job. And if I keep this job over the summer and things go well, I'll come back for a second year. I told myself, if this job doesn't work out for whatever reason, maybe then I'll just move back to where my parents are at. So I kind of made that decision and then kept the job and came back for a second year. Well, then after a second year, it was better than the first. I enjoyed it. I started to deepen my roots a little bit more. I started to get to know the faculty even better, started to get to know our pastor here better, Pastor Gomez, and started to really create a lot of friendships, ties to the ministry and the bus ministry, things like that. So as I started to kind of mature, this became more and more like home to me, right? And I enjoyed it and I loved it. And then going into my third year and fourth year of Bible college, I met my wife, right? The most important part of me coming to Bible college.
Now you ain't leaving.
Right, now I'm not leaving, right? I'm not leaving until she's with me. So that was, obviously, this is kind of trite, but if I wouldn't have been here, for 4 years, I wouldn't have met her,
sure.
And I wouldn't be married to my wife. And such an important decision in your life, and it was the right place at the right time. And I met my wife here, and now we're raising our children here, and it's a wonderful place.
One of the things that I always want to tell young people, if they're like, well, I'm going to graduate college or high school, and then I'm going to go off into a secular college. And I want to ask them, like, okay, well, that's fine. But, if you have plans of being married, raising your children in church, being there on Sunday morning, a happy little family in church, where are you going to find that Christian spouse? Is it at the state university?
Right.
I mean, you go to state university, the pool of people to pick from is like
very small.
Count them on one hand, I would think.
Yeah.
Go to a Bible college, okay, you enlarge your pool and assumed that most people there actually want to serve the Lord.
Right.
Even still, some no.
No.
But, you've increased your chances at least of, fulfilling that goal.
Yeah, a lot of that for me was trying to be really self-aware. I felt like I was trying to be aware of my own spiritual maturity, and deciding that Bible college is not really what I want, but it is probably what I need.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't probably going to be super successful as a Christian at the Catholic university that I was wanting to go to, right? So understanding that, my spiritual maturity and making those decisions based on that and being aware of where God was going to best use me was super important.
So to wrap it up, we got to tackle this question. Here's a young person about to graduate high school. I'm not called into ministry, and do I waste 4 years at Bible college if I'm not actually going to go into ministry? And I want you to answer that question. Was 4 years of Bible college, graduating from Bible college, a waste of time for where you are now? Not in ministry, you're serving in our church, obviously, but you're in secular employment. What did you get out of Bible college that was worth it?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, direction is number one, right? I aimed all of my desires and all of my interests were aimed from a Christian perspective. And having that understanding there, right? Learning good Christian ministry, laymen in every church need to understand how the ministry works and understand what it takes to run a Sunday school class and what it takes to run a soul winning ministry. So having that kind of guidance around me was very important. And then ultimately having just a general desire to serve the Lord and making Christian friends that I will keep for forever, right? Have forever, and that I can reach out to and I can call, some in the ministry and some not, right? That I can call and just share. We have that shared experience of going to Bible college together. I think those I could never discount, right? And I was able to go. I've gone to a 4-year university after Bible college.
You recently graduated.
I did.
Just a couple weeks ago, I think,
yeah,
right?
Just a couple weeks ago. So recently graduated from another 4-year university. I don't have any friends that I carried over from that. I have some acquaintances and some people that I might have their phone number still, and faculty that I enjoyed, but nothing quite like what Bible college gave me. Nothing that could even compare. It's a wonderful experience.
Well, I hope this can help some Christian teenager out there considering Bible college and give them a little bit of direction and encouragement there. So thanks so much for joining us. You can catch us on the YouTube channel and also on the audio-only platforms as well.